thoughts on New Zealand Labour Party victory. That's something I got to comment on. Holy shit. Yeah, so if I haven't really said any, like, the Labour Party, Jesus. So, like, I try to be all sort of agnostic about politics, but I guess I'm a Labour supporter, and you know, Tellurian Wanderings. What country are you from, if you can tell me? Because this would actually, I can sort of relate to you a little bit better on that
alone once you planted it, right? Well, what you got to do is place it in the Oberkommando's nuclear reactor. That way the Nazis won't be able to track its radiation signature. They won't find it, they won't disarm it.
Because New Zealand has an interesting political system, our electoral system. Essentially what happened was there was this big lead up in the 70s and 80s when it was actually very similar to what's happened in the UK and America and the United States at the moment, is that you have these two parties and widespread voter disenfranchisement. And what was the cause of it was that you just like in America or just like in the United States and UK, you'd have a big party. The two main parties could just have like a small group of people could just run rampant and dictate policy, and you'd really have no choice if you were a supporter of that party. Oh, you can see them coming on the right here. I've got to be a bit more focused on my... So there was it was a bit of a political bluff by the Prime Minister at the time, who was a conservative Prime Minister in the early 90s. He allowed a referendum to happen, and we changed our political system to a proportional one, mixed member proportional, and it's what we get 2 votes. So New Zealand voters get 2 votes. You get to vote for your local the local representative, like your member of, if you're American, it would be your member of Congress. You know that you know, but you also get to vote for your party. And that's a really empowering thing, because it means that, like, let's say you're in a place, if you're in let's say you're in the American South, or one of these sort of places which is a Republican place, and you're a Democrat, or you're in a part of London and you're a Conservative, you know, and you're in a Labour seat. Ordinarily, your vote would be wasted, because you would just not. You'd never get any of your people in. You'd always just be. Nothing would ever matter, and the parties themselves will just do whatever they like anyway. But with this new system, it frees you up a bit, because you can still dictate how many seats are represented. So minor parties can come in and stuff like that. I think there are very few countries which have adopted this method, but it's been it took a few elections for New Zealanders to educate, you know, to sort of start voting, to educate themselves on this new system. And it sort of broke up the two-party sort of monopoly or hegemony. And so this is all just foregrounding the New Zealand Labour Party victory, because politics as usual... Actually, I'm just talking really loudly, I'm sorry. So, governments in governments in this country are ordinarily formed by coalitions. It's always a major party and a couple of minor parties will put together an agreement and build a government, and it works. It's quite good in a sense because it means that power becomes more. There's more accountability. There's more people, like smaller parties can get policies in with the larger parties. It means a lot of the intrigue which happens in a two-party system, all that sort of backroom stuff is in front, is in the public. It's more transparent. So all power to it. It's all good. It's all good stuff, But the problem is that because power is more diffused, change is a bit more incremental. Like you won't get like sudden transformational sort of paradigm shifts. You won't, like you used to. You used to have like a government would come in and you'd have like 5 people who are running the cabinet with like, this is the direction, but now that just can't happen because you have coalitions. Now, it was conventional, it was received wisdom that we'd never have a majority government in this country again. We would never have it would always be coalition governments, and that's what makes this election so such an important. The outcome for this election is so historic because it's Labour govern on their own. They don't have to partner with anybody, and this is unprecedented in our current electoral system. It's defied everything. Like it's a new political age we're in New Zealand at the moment, simply because Labour they've gone over and beyond. And I don't know if there's a I think the most I could probably liken it to would probably be like Tony Blair in 1997, where the Conservatives, the Tories got completely wiped out. And it wasn't just the Labour Party winning; our centre-right party just collapsed. They just died, and half of their votes went to Labour. It's just extraordinary, and the Greens also built their voter base as well. So I'm someone who would ordinarily support Labour. I'm from a Labour family. I'm sure if you're American or if you're American, you'll understand that if you've grown up in a Democrat family, or if you're in the UK and you're Labour, you just are. It takes a real change in mindset to move your tick. But this year I actually voted Green, and so I'm a Labour supporter who voted Green. So it was a strategic vote because I knew Labour would be doing all right. But I wanted Green to build up their bloc. So Greens are the natural coalition partner with Labour in New Zealand, and if the Greens have more of a leverage, then they can put the government into the like tilt it to the left. Let's say more progressive, because as it stands, Labour have inherited a huge amount of votes from the other party that's just wallowing, and they're not going to want to get rid of. They're not going to want to lose them, so they're going to just drop all of their progressive policies. So, and 3 years ago, when Labour ran with Ardern as the leader into the election, their manifesto was strong, transformative, social democratic policies. It was a real, and they couldn't deliver them because they went into coalition with a sort of quite a conservative party. Well, that's what they like to say anyway. That they had a handbrake is the term that gets bandied around. But now we have this new political climate post-COVID with Ardern. She's kind of becoming this sort of she's got a lot of trust. People trust her, but and her greatest strength is that she builds consensus. So she's built an agreement with the Greens, even though she can govern alone. She's trying to still build, but she doesn't have a vision. So there's sort of like quite a visionless kind of a government. There's no Ardernism, if you will. There's no, there isn't a focus or a direction to the New Zealand Labour government in this election. So while if you're on the left in this country, you'll be quite heartened to know that the left are basically holding. The left is now a juggernaut in this country. That doesn't necessarily translate to transformative change. This isn't Bolivia, do you know? This is a the Ardern's instincts are centrist. They're risk averse. She's not going to be like. She likes to store her political capital. She never likes to spend it. So she gets recognised for all of the good things she does, and she gets more and more and more votes. But she's never going to go, fuck it. Let's privatise the farm. Let's nationalise the farms. She'd never do that. And a case in point was the cannabis referendum, and that kind of revealed the more vacuous aspects of Ardern's. I say vacuous on Twitter, and I got like all the there's a real cult around her in this country. It's you could be I respect her, but you can't just buy into your leaders like emotionally. I don't get that, but she refused to reveal what she was going to vote on in the cannabis referendum, and so she wasn't going to advocate for it one way or the other. And she made a political decision. It was a calculation that she would gain more votes by not from national voters then she would lose more by it was just this kind of the cost benefit to coming out with a position before the election on a referendum, and then after the election she revealed that she voted yes, even though yes lost. So she wanted it both ways, and it's like, why didn't you advocate for it? If you actually voted yes, then it's almost like she wants to be the Prime Minister, but she doesn't want to be. She wants to stand with us, and that's quite cool. It's a really good. It marks her out as it's why you got to balance your criticism to her, because it's like she comes from a place of not a lot of ego. Like, she wants to be with people, and it's a beautiful thing. But sometimes you want a leader. Sometimes you want someone who articulates, who brings people aboard with their vision. And we're not getting that. We're not going to get that at all under Ardern. So that's my thoughts on the Labour Party victory. New Zealand will change. We're always we're going to have a new national holiday in a few years, a new uniquely New Zealand celebration, a Māori festival, Matariki. Labour always do these really interesting nation building type things, and that's what we're going to have, which is I really like. But we're not going to have a definitely won't get any Sanderism or Corbynism in there. I'd say it's somewhere halfway between Blair and Corbyn, maybe. It's more like, if you're British, it's more like Andy Burnham. That's what our government is. Our government's dependable Andy Burnham. So that's my thoughts. If you are still there listening.
So, you want the Nazis to leave the warhead